century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment, not just to protect their valuable tools, but to protect their professional reputation. For pros, the WeatherGuard badge makes a statement about what drives them. It says, "Turn it on, been there, done that, we got your back," without saying a word. And folks at WeatherGuard, they're just as driven as the hardworking pros they serve. See what it means to be driven at WeatherGuard. The Round Rock Express.
Wow, look at this. Hat head.
Now, if you've ever wondered how the Express got their name, well, for you youngsters out there, look up Nolan Ryan, also known as the Ryan Express. And if you really want to see something fun, look up the Nolan Ryan and Robin Ventura altercation. For more fun, listen to all the games on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. The NL East takes center stage as the Atlanta Braves take on the New York Mets. Sunday at 4 on ESPN Las Vegas, 1100 AM and 100.9 FM. Brought to you by Finley Chevrolet, home of the...
Gambler's Bonus hits again. On April 14th, Chris hit 4 sixes, clearing his Gambler's Bonus one-of-a-kind bingo card for almost $24,000. Chris hit big and so can you with Gambler's Bonus. It's why you play the game.
Great in the taste of Florida subs. Get the fast start to flavor with our easy online delivery. Fresh baked bread, premium meats, cheeses, loaded with veggies and sauces. Get the Florida subs taste you crave. Order online at FloridaSubs.com or on our app for freshness at your fingertips.
This Lotus Cares message is brought to you by Lerner & Rowe Personal Injury Law Firm. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Exposure to ultraviolet light can be harmful to your skin, so protect yourself in the sun.
Hey, how we doing, everyone? Welcome in to a beautiful Thursday. Billy Joel's birthday today, Bobby. He's 75 today. Stones. Yep.
Our favorites are your favorites. Our usual is your usual. Our team
Don't say anything because I'm not positive of it, but we might have a pair of stones today.
and our neighborhood is your neighborhood.
We might.
Might.
Your local hangout for great food.
I won't know until 12 o'clock because I got to check the
Okay.
Because it's not just our PTs. It's your PTs. Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is the model Mexican lager.
What's happening? Why do I not hear any? Okay, here we go.
A Pilsner-style lager with a crisp, clean taste.
Running a business gets more complicated every year, so you need a trusted advisor in your corner, especially when it comes to your workers' comp program. Pro Group Management has been helping Nevada's self-insured businesses for over 20 years. Whether your business is retail, trucking,
Hello, Trucker Mark.
our team has the expertise to make sure your coverage meets your needs and at a price that fits your budget. Our award-winning team keeps track of all the important regulatory issues that impact your
Raider Ryan, good to see you. Man, I did yard work today like I was 16 years old. I really did. I did yard work for 3 hours today.
Good, healthy play.
That's pgnmd.com or call our Las Vegas
I'm
office
doing
at
yard work lately.
740-4380. Pro Group Management.
Yep.
That works for you.
What do you want to talk about today, Raider Nation? You're the first in here. I give you first shot to get into the show before it starts. Throw a couple topics in the chat because a lot of fans on this channel, for whatever reason, don't want to talk about sports other than the Raiders. I'll talk Raiders, but I'd like to mix in some other sports because I don't want to do 2 hours in July on the NFL. Ooh, Ty says Costa Mesa. Well, what do you specifically want to talk about, Costa Mesa? The weather? All right.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's time for JT the Brick.
This is a new day. It's a new chapter. It's a new era. It's a new mindset.
Jacoby Myers in motion. O'Connell takes the snap, throws it out to him. He's going to throw to the end zone. Touchdown, Devontae!
I love hearing this.
I thought at the end of the year it was nice. Allegiant Stadium
How about Rick
started to
Carlisle
turn into a
bites
home
ready,
field advantage.
like
You can hear the
before
roar
the
of the crowd.
highlights? I want to
to
get
me,
into
it's
that
not
topic.
the right way, in this hard way.
Vegas is the global hub of the Raider Nation. Now it's got to act that way every home game.
Raider Nation, as I always say, you show up and we'll show out. JT the Brick.
It's a real thing. It's a tangible thing. You get in the building and you feel it.
It's a war to track down Kansas City. I've always been a big fan of running the football. And up this in here, cut to the right side.
First down 35, first 40, down to 50, near side 40, 35, 30, ends up here White. Martin just sold it away, a Raiders win.
I'm always looking for opportunities to compete, man. This is a great one here.
And now,
Raider Nation unite.
here's JT. Yes, Raider Nation unite. JT along with Bobby. We're in studio today. Lotus Broadcasting. Thrilled to be with you today on the flagship of an NFL team, the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly the Oakland Raiders, the LA Raiders, a global brand. What an honor it is to be streaming live on YouTube, where we've been building out the YouTube page. I'm thrilled about it. Tell you about that in a little bit, and we're ready to roll and got a busy show here today. But technically, I don't have a busy show today because what I'm doing, which is different, is I'm not asking people to come on the air in the off season like Paul Gutierrez, Vic Tafer, all the people that I normally have. We built this army of insiders. I give them the summer off. But Bobby, I should have started giving them the summer off in like a month from now and giving them the summer off because I think I can handle 2 hours a day. I mean, I do 4 hours a day, sometimes or more. So this 2 hours is my way to come in here and talk sports and let it fly and hopefully talk more sports with you. I know I've been blanking and moaning, and I tend to do that, and I apologize. I've been blanking and moaning lately because I don't get a chance to talk enough sports on this channel. It seems like I'm talking more about Raiders all the time. I don't want to do that in the summertime. Do we have any NBA fans out there, like any Warrior fans or Laker fans that could talk about the Knicks or Oklahoma City, or should we just scrub all that? We want to talk sports on days like today because there's more sports than Raiders content by a billion. So we want to mix it in. We don't want to do all sports on things not Raiders, and we don't want to do all Raiders in the summertime. We want to do a sports talk show. That's what I get paid to do, and I love talking sports. So we're going to try to do a little bit of that today. I have a gentleman coming on a little bit later on in the show, the head of the police union out there. There's a great football game Saturday night at Bishop Gorman. It's the cops versus the firemen. It's for an unbelievable cause. So I'm going to talk about that at 1:30. Other than that, I'm wide open. I'm wide open for the next hour and a half. Do we want to play the game? Let's see how long JT can talk without taking a breath, or are we going to hear from you today at 702-365-9200? I went into the chat, which we have a great little chat room here on YouTube. It's a great feature. Because, people sometimes don't want to call in. They just want to chat on the internet, right? They want to tweet. They want to go with it. I don't do text messages. I don't read text messages. Not my thing. Everybody else who does it great. Not my thing. But what I want to do is I want to talk to the people on YouTube first. We kind of logged in there maybe 5 minutes before the show. My son says, Dad, go in there 10 minutes before the show. Get everybody worked up. And I ask everybody, what do you want to talk about? And everybody today, Bobby, still wants to talk about Costa Mesa. They were fascinated yesterday with my analysis of the weather. They like what I had to say about Costa Mesa, and they want to talk about it more today, which is an interesting topic because the Raiders will have training camp. I don't have the exact dates. I don't know if you're going to be invited. I don't know who's coming. I know Vinny did a deep dive on that because of the marketing and the territorial rights of the Rams and the Chargers. The Saints are coming. The Cowboys are up in Oxnard. I thought we did a pretty good job covering that earlier yesterday on the importance of, kind of getting out of the heat. There's more of a weather topic. I talked to Dana Wagner, the great newsman. He's a part of our newsmen. We got like 5 or 6 news men and women who come on the show about weather. And, the weather, we don't know if there's going to be wildfires in California. We don't know if it's going to rain. It never rains. But last year, you know how much it rained in California? Like more than ever, dating back to the 1800s. I don't know what the weather's going to be. We just know it's going to be scalding hot here in Henderson, Nevada, where it's 5 degrees warmer than Summerlin, Bobby. Got to get that nudge in. 5 degrees warmer in Summerlin. Cooler in Summerlin. So they want to get out of the heat, and they want to do this. But today, I got a good topic for all Raider fans. I think this is really important because we love this team. We all do. We love this team, and most of the players, if not all of them, are really likable. Even Gardner Minshew Mania, where a fan told me the other day I carry water for the organization. I said, no, I don't carry water for Mark. I carry Gardner Minshew's headband. That's what I do now for a living. But I like Gardner Minshew. I'm good friends with Max. You know, there's great play. Andre James, getting to know him more and more, but I don't know a lot of the players. I don't. You know, they don't come into the studio a lot. I see them at practice. I get a chance to fly on the team charter a couple of times a year. I do the pre and post. I'm not in the locker room because I'm doing this radio show. Look at your watch. It's noon. I'm on the radio every day, most of it at noon. So I'm not in the locker room. So I put people on who are in the locker room, and we try to talk and have a good conversation about what the team is doing. But they're all well-liked guys. Now, here's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go old school. I touched on it yesterday. And this is not for old heads, as my sons say. Dad, don't be an old head. I say, really? Am I an old head? I'm going to the Rolling Stones in the 6th row on Saturday night. Does that sound like a get off the lawn guy? I'll be in the 6th row with Mick Jagger. Does that sound old? That's not old head. Okay. I go away on golf trips with my buddies all the time. You might catch me in a nightclub at 2 a.m. here. I'm not an old head. Okay. I think I'm the opposite of an old head. But I want to go old school Raiders today for those who would like to partake. I mentioned it a little bit yesterday, so I did my prep before the show today and called 2 more Raider alumni, one in the 70s and 2 who played in the 80s. And I called them on the phone. They took my call, and I asked them a simple question. What do you think about training camp being away from the facility? And 2 of the gentlemen didn't know what I was talking about. I said, well, the Raiders are going to go to Costa Mesa and get away. So, again, I want to keep their names off the air, but they're pretty big guys who played for the Raiders. And all 3 of them told me the same thing. They need to get away. They have to get away. It's the only way in the scenario to have discipline on the team. And I said, what do you mean by that? They said, when we were in Santa Rosa or we were down in L.A., the one in L.A. said, we had a curfew in camp. We had a curfew. That means we could practice 2-a-days, remember. I keep mentioning twice a day. The practices, these athletes are better today. They're bigger and stronger and faster. They lift more weight. I mean, there's a couple of alphas back in the 70s and 80s. Like, I would love to know what Art Shell was able to bench press compared to Max Crosby. I don't have those numbers here. But what those guys did is they had harder practices than the NFL today, much harder. They had 6 preseason games, and one of the legends told me, non-Hall of Famer, but legends, we were in camp for 6 weeks or 2 months, and then when camp broke, we got right on a plane. We didn't even go home. We got on a plane and flew to the preseason game back east. I said, really? I go, you didn't get a chance to go home and do your lawn? No, we went from training camp and we got on the airplane and we went. I go, man, that must have been hard. He goes, yeah, it was hard. I said, what were the best parts of training camp? He said, team bonding. So then I decided to go down this road. What's the difference now? And this is a great topic for everybody to call in on, 702-365-9200. What is the difference in your lifetime when it comes to preparation with athletes, dedication, and commitment of athletes? Because, again, Max Crosby is the guy I use for an example. You won't find a more committed football human being than Max Crosby. You can put him in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and he would have been the hardest working guy on the Raiders along with other ones. Let's take Max out of it for a second. How disciplined can you be during training camp? If you're done with practice where it wasn't a padded practice, you lifted weights, you ate well, you got a private chef making you salmon, the chef's also making you lamb chops, whatever you want. They live like kings in that building, well-deserved. Mark treats everyone really well. And then you go home after practice at like 5:30 and you go through the gates with your Rolls Royce or Ferrari and you pull into your backyard and 3 of your teammates are there popping beers. Not saying the Raiders do that, but then you're able to leave your house at 11 at night and walk down to your neighbor's house who plays on the team, have a cigar with him outside, and then go to bed at 2 a.m. There's no bed check. There's no team bonding. There's not everybody in the same hotel. There's not everybody bonding together. You just get to go home to your mansion. And that was what connected with some of these old school guys that I talked to about this training camp move. They all believe, and they won more than the players win today, fact, not fiction. They all believe that this is a must-needed move to get the team away so they could bond and have team bonding and be prepared for a quick jump start to the regular season by having that time and discipline to be in a hotel room, not be at home, not sitting outside staring at their $4 million pool in their $12 million house where they're chipping and putting at 8 o'clock at night. And the wife says, come on in, dinner's ready. And oh, by the way, can you change the diaper? Can you take the garbage out? Okay. When I thought about that, it made a lot of sense to me. It does. You when you go home after practice during the regular season, you're allowed to rest. You're with your family, your wife, your kids, your grandmother could be there, your parents could be visiting. It's a beautiful thing. Training camp is supposed to be bust your ass, get in shape. The old guys used to have to wear those like wetsuits. You know, guys like Stabler would have to sweat out 15 pounds. Other guys would have to get in shape. They'd be running afterwards trying to get in shape because Mr. Davis, Al Davis, would be like, man, you don't look like you did at the end of last year. I can tell you that. And last year they had a long season and they played in the playoffs and/or won a Super Bowl or played in the Super Bowl. So it's an interesting topic. I'd like to get your perspective on the fact I don't think that Mad Max Crosby needs to be disciplined in July. I don't. I don't think that Mad Max Crosby at 11 o'clock during training camp is going to go out to a restaurant and stay out till 1 a.m. He's the exact opposite of that, but a couple other players could. There's no bed checks at home, everybody. There's no bed checks at home. You can do whatever you want at home. So this is about going to Costa Mesa, breaking the heat, bonding in a hotel at practice where you're away from your family. Do we all understand in sports that being away from your family is required for discipline and structure? Discipline. The military does it. I rarely compare the military to sports, even though everything about the NFL is about the gridiron, right? And the fact that George Carlin used to do a comparison about football, right? And the gridiron and the military and connecting it all. There's no discipline in Vegas during training camp compared to being on the road, What do you think the Cowboys get the hell out of Dallas and go to Oxnard? You know what goes on in Oxnard? Absolutely nothing. Guys aren't taking limos. Maybe if they get an off day in Oxnard, they take a limo to Hollywood. They take a limo to Malibu and do that. But they take teams and they put them in spots. Used to be dorm rooms. Raiders aren't going to stay in a dorm room in Costa Mesa, I don't believe. So I like this topic because it can tie us all together. It seems like Antonio Pierce is a player's coach, which is great. He played and he won a Super Bowl, and he loves the players, and he wants the players to have opinions and be strong and love each other and work out together and do all that. I think this is going to be great in Costa Mesa because that's basically Antonio Pierce's town in and around there, real close to Long Beach, real close to Compton, real close to all that. I think he's going to have some juice. He already has juice. But at 7 a.m. in Henderson when there's no one there and he's got his juice and he's yelling into the mountains and there's no one there other than the team, I think Antonio Pierce in Southern California is going to have added juice than he already has, and he has a lot. I think the players are going to appreciate it. Is it inconvenient for them? I don't think so. They're football players. They're paid millions of dollars, where some of the other gentlemen I talked to earlier in the day barely made over $100,000 or $140,000 and had a bunch of bills they had to pay off, and they had jobs in the offseason. Another last point on this. A lot of the guys I'm talking about before training camp were working.
Oh, yeah.
They were working.
Oh, yeah.
They were parking cars at the racetrack in the Bay Area. They had beer routes. They were delivering cases of beer. They were washing cars, and they were winning games. They were winning 12, 13 games, and they had jobs. So let's comment everybody down on Costa Mesa. Let's get your opinion on the team bonding aspect of that, because maybe you don't think it's important. And I respect your opinion. Maybe you don't think that the modern day athlete needs to have bonding time away from home. Maybe you don't think that. Maybe you think going into a mansion with a 6-car garage after practice and going in there and watching film on your own is better than team bonding in a hotel room with all your teammates. And there's a lot of extra people there too. Remember, most of the guys aren't going to make the team. A lot of them aren't going to make the team. They're going to be on the practice squad or get cut. So training camp's a big topic today. I've wrung it out. I've kind of wrung this out like a sponge. I'm thrilled to go to Costa Mesa. I'm excited about this. You may not be, or you may love this. I got to hear from some people on what I say on the radio, or I just don't get it. I don't get what you think as a Raider fan unless you tweet at me at JT the Brick or 702-365-9200. I like when athletes are pushed. I like when athletes who make millions of dollars are uncomfortable and are practicing harder than they think they should practice, and they are pushed harder from the coaches, and they are pushed to some type of physical and mental limit. I repeat again, I like when the players hit in practice. I like when they're in pads. I like when they tackle. I like when they get better at the physicality of what they do. Okay, you could look like Tarzan and play like Jane. You can be great in the weight room, but you can miss a tackle in the open field that can cost your team a game. I want to see these guys play under adverse conditions. When we were there last year for the preseason up in LA with the Rams, and they had the two-a-days against the Rams, and it was Aaron Donald and Max Crosby, and they were going at each other. That's great. I love the padded practices, the two-a-days when you go up against a team, because it gets really chippy. It gets a little bit hardcore, and I think it's kind of cool. So your thoughts on that, 702-365-9200. I am a diehard Knicks fan. Diehard. More diehard than I am for the Raiders, the Yankees, everybody else. I'm a diehard Knicks fan. JT the Brick rhymes with Knicks, if you don't know the backstory. The Knicks are pretty much now everything to me. So I watched the Knicks last night, and it was incredible what happened in that game. Jalen Brunson left in the second quarter. He was gone. Didn't know if he'd come back with a foot injury. And he didn't have a Willis Reed moment. YouTube him, but he came out in the third quarter and played a heroic game. And then Anunoby, one of their best players, he pulled his hamstring, left the game. He didn't play the whole game, and the Knicks found a way to win. But I will say this, because I think I call it honest on all my shows. Might be a bit of a homer to you, and I'm a homer on the Knicks more than the Raiders, I'll tell you that. I can tell you this much. The Knicks are getting the calls from the refs. They're getting the calls. They got them. The calls at home were going against Indiana to the point where Indiana turned in 70 calls, 70 in 2 games that they thought were bad calls, and they were right. So, look, if I was sitting there saying on Twitter, screw you, Indiana, too bad, the refs got it right. No. I'm just the opposite. I can see it. It went against us. They got the tuck rule wrong, went against the Raiders. Okay, New England's even admitting that. New England now over the decades are saying it's a fumble. Fact, not fiction. But the Knicks were getting the benefit of the call. So here's Rick Carlisle after the game last night. This is a championship coach who won a championship as a player for the Celtics and was a championship coach with Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks. I thought this was beautiful. It's a little bit long, but this is the job of a head coach in professional sports when the calls are going against him and he has to stand up for his team.
We always go through the film in games where it felt like the whistles weren't balanced, and we pull the clips. And there's a way you can submit them to the MDA office. There were 29 plays in game 1 that we thought were clearly called the wrong way. I decided not to submit them because I just felt like we get a more balanced whistle tonight. It didn't feel that way. Couple examples: 5:08 of the third. The whole world knows that Halliburton's got a bad back, and Hart comes up and shoves him in the back, and it's all over Twitter right now because a few people have showed it to me, and JB DeRosa's looking right at it. You can see him; he's got vision of the play, and he shoves Tyree in the corner, and there's no whistle, right in the back, and so that was shocking, and there are many others, but I can promise you that we're going to submit these tonight. New York can get ready; they'll see them too. I'm always talking to our guys about not making it about the officials, but we deserve a fair shot, and it's just not. There's not a consistent balance, and that's disappointing. Give New York credit for the physicality that they're playing with, but their physicality is rewarded and ours is penalized, just time after time, and so. I'm just really disappointed.
That is a great soundbite. He should be fined. He should be fined for what he said because he went against the refs. He should be fined, but I wouldn't fine him because he showed respect at the end. That is an excellent soundbite that I want other coaches to use in the NFL. What's the problem now if the officials blow a game in sports and the coaches can't go to the podium? And you know what they say, Bill Belichick, whoever it is, Antonio Pierce, I don't want to get fined. No. You should be able to tell the truth. Now, you can't have a league that goes rogue with all of the coaches every game go into the microphone and say, we got screwed on that. Go to the third quarter. There was holding. There was defensive pass interference. You can't. Or everybody would get fined. You wouldn't have a league. But I thought that was really good for Rick Carlisle to do that. That's what sports is about. You have to defend your team. You have to go and defend your team when your team's getting screwed. So I've been doing this long enough, and I'm a Knicks fan. The refs are going to go against the Knicks in Game 3 and Game 4. Promise you. Promise you the calls are going to go. And if you're betting the series or you're betting the games, I can guarantee you that the referees in the rest of this series, or at least the next 2 games before it gets back to New York again, are going to be pro-Indiana. They're going to call fouls on New York, and they're going to help Indiana get back into the series because the coach did the right thing. Coach said, I had it. I'm done. This is completely wrong, and there needs to be justice. I wanted to fit that in the monologue, too. If you got an opinion on that, again, I know we got Laker fans listening. I know there's a lot of Warrior fans in Northern California. I'd like to hear some NBA fans, some sports fans contribute because we lost the hockey audience in Vegas. They're gone. They are finito. You can't find a hockey fan from Deep Henderson up to Mount Charleston. They're nowhere to be found, man. Thank God I don't specialize in hockey. I can't do a radio show on hockey, but I can do a radio show with the NBA, Major League Baseball, and some other topics that are out there. So NBA fans, kind of sound off. Remember, this is a radio show, sports talk. We want to hear from NBA fans. It's during the NBA Finals. Bobby's Celtics look unbeatable to me. Oklahoma City, we mentioned it. It looks like Oklahoma City, I don't want to say they're going to cruise through Dallas, but this series, Denver Nuggets versus the Timberwolves, they're going to be amazing because they didn't throw Jamal Murray out for a game. They fined him $100,000, but they didn't kick him out of the game for throwing a heating pad onto the court. That could have been very dangerous. You can't throw objects on the court. If it was the regular season, he would have got suspended, but it's the playoffs, and you can say that Denver's getting an advantage there. I expect Denver to come back and make it a series. If not, you know where to find me as we open up the show, 702-365-9200. As we're open for business, 26 minutes into the show. And we hope that you have an energy base equal to mine as we get going. Ron and Henderson, start us off. Ron, appreciate it. What's going on?
Hey, JT, man. Hey, I appreciate you doing this. You're one of the goats, man. But yeah, I'm just a training camp, man. This is going to be great, like you said, man, to build that camaraderie, to get the team gelling. And, you know, that's what we need. That's what we want with all these new players. I want them to gel, learn the Raider way, and have Max, you know, take everyone under their wing and lead like a true Raider, because this is going to be important in those late season games in November and December, where we need that connection. Like, hey, the look of the eye, I got you. You know what I'm doing. You know what you're doing. We got this. Let's ride and let's bust some ass. You know, JT, I'm excited. I'm hyped for AP to lead these boys in the season. Let's go.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Thanks for checking in here, and I appreciate that. Look, I hope I didn't indicate that it's softer in Henderson, Nevada than it is in Costa Mesa, but I think it is. I think it's softer when you go home to bed at night during training camp before the preseason than when you're kind of in a lockdown, or a little bit more of a disciplinary, let's get that word out of the way. You're in more of a focused atmosphere when you're away from your family. Nothing wrong with being away from your family when you're making $1 million a month. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with being away from your family for 3 weeks when you're a paid athlete and most of the season is off. I mean, the Raiders work out year round. These athletes today have much better conditioning than the old timers who used to have to get to training camp. They needed 2 months to get in shape. They literally needed the months to get in shape. And they were whipped into shape in training camp because they had just much more difficult and demanding practices, just much more. I mean, there are days where all NFL teams, this isn't just a Raider topic, all NFL teams are in shorts and shells, and they're just walking around, and the coach has a piece of paper in front of them saying, run it again. And they're running these kind of walk-through drills. That didn't happen back in the day. They did a little bit of that. They put pads on and practiced. Now the union just stepped in, and the union says no more. You get too many players getting injured, too many players hurt. It's a longer season. And it is a longer season. It's tough to maintain health throughout the course of a major long football season. But I think it's going to be good for the Raiders, for the bonding aspect of it all. I don't think a lot of people are going to be affected. I mean, the people who are going to be affected by this are local restaurants. I'm always talking economy, aren't I here? If you own a couple of local restaurants in Henderson and you were expecting a big training camp crowd to come by for lunch and all that, and the Raiders are gone, that could hit your restaurant maybe a little bit. but the opportunity to bring the Raider brand on the road, wink, wink, and remind everybody in Southern California that the largest fan base is the silver and black. I think that's pretty cool. 702-365-9200. Do you see any benefit with taking the team out of Henderson for training camp? What is that benefit specifically? Or do you think this is much about nothing, and it's going to be the same thing if they stayed in Henderson or went to Costa Mesa? You are the diehard fans of the Raider Nation. We need to hear from you because you heard my opinion. It's as strong as anybody here on the radio. I say go to Costa Mesa, get better weather, do some team bonding, a little bit more discipline, a little bit bed check time. We're going to get some work done here because Las Vegas has picked the Raiders to win 6.5 games this year. I'm going to get into that when I come back. I told Bobby I wanted to do more of that tomorrow. We're going to do more of that tomorrow. But when we come back, you won't believe the teams that Vegas, the bent noses, have winning more games than your team. Look, I'm not saying you got to put the season total at 10 for the Raiders. I'm not saying that at all. You won't believe the teams they put ahead of the Raiders. You won't believe it. I thought it was a typo today. JT, brought to you by the DeCastroverde Law Group. The brothers have your back. TheBrothersWin.com, 702-222-9999 if you get in an accident. All right. How's everyone doing here? So let me catch up on the chat and see what's happening. Bobby, the new Motley Crue song is called
Dogs of War.
Dogs of War.
Yes, we played it twice already.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, today is Rolling Stones. I will
Yeah,
say
yeah.
Rolling Stones request.
Sounds like the NFL will only be letting season ticket holders in at Costa Mesa. Any truth to that? I don't know. If I knew the truth, I'd tell you. I think there's going to be limitations. I think there's always limitations. And I think there are a lot of Northern California and Southern California. So I'm talking California season ticket holders for the Raiders who are going to have certain types of invitations that maybe I wouldn't as a season ticket holder living in Nevada, but I don't know. I don't talk about things I don't know about. So I don't know for sure on who's going to be able to attend. Oxnard Rob says, hoping we get a joint practice here in Oxnard. That'd be good. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, you got the Cowboys in Oxnard. You're going to have New Orleans. We beat Houston to get to Costa Mesa. Houston wanted to go. That's the most – Houston might be the most humid place on the planet. The most humid place on the planet. So they want to get out of there too. So that's interesting. Very interesting there. Night Owl, JT. See here, there's a lot of let me see what that says. I can't see this. Okay, salute to the channel, Raider Nation. Love the move to Costa Mesa, SoCal in the house, largest Raider fan base, team bonding, vets and rookie coaches. Exciting. Yep. Willie says 11-6 makes the playoffs. Man, these phones are just lame as shit. Just quiet, sleepy, just sleepy. Got radio shows on all over the country with 9 guys talking at once. And we're here grinding a solo show, man, looking for some interaction, man. Let's wake this place up. All right.
You guessed all the right Chevy clues. This season, spring into adventure together with Chevy of your choice. See your Southern Nevada Chevy dealers.
This Lotus Cares message is brought to you by Lerner & Lowe Personal Injury Law Firm. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Exposure to ultraviolet light can be harmful to your skin, so protect yourself in the sun with a sunscreen that has at least a 30 SPF. And don't forget your sunglasses and hats. For more info, check out
Got the Freddy's Fellas hat on. These are Fred Bolitnikov's buddies who come to the golf tournament every year and donate a lot of money.
This Mother's
Day, Crosby Sack coming back
for top quality gifts that pay tribute to the lasting heritage of the West, from handcrafted cowboy boots and American-made felt hats can guide you as you shop, helping you find the perfect gift, assisting with boot sizing, and providing in-store styling. Share a piece of the American spirit with her this Mother's Day. Boot Barn. Unwrap the West.
Hey Jeff, how's the new job working out?
Really sucks. Terrible boss and the paycheck is even worse. I gotta get a new job.
Truck you.
Wait, what?
Truck you.
You don't have to curse at me.
Dude, you should check out Truck You CDL training. My brother got his CDL license in 4 weeks and now he has a new career making great money.
Okay, I'm listening.
Truck You offers small classes with night and weekend times available. They will even help with payment programs. Check them out. TruckULB.com. Truck You.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner style lager.
All right, I'll take this to 40 or 45. We'll see what we could happen.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by PT, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
And we set third three. Make sure Dodge does one.
Shotgun snap. Looking to throw. Now pressure. Gets out of there. Crosby's got it from behind. Back at the 45-yard line.
Jason Horowitz on the call. Mad Max, JT back with you on a beautiful day today. I did more yard work today. I did 3 hours of yard work before the noon show. My parents are coming to town, trimming trees, man. Trimming trees, which is unique, man. I don't climb on roofs at my age anymore. No need to fall off a roof, Bobby. That's not the way I want to go, man. But I was trimming trees all morning today when the wind is blowing heavily, man, the debris. So a lot of yard work today. It's good to do some yard work, man. You know, and out west, people always say, well, out west, it's very cheap to have yard work help. You can have someone come every week and cut your grass and trim your trees and do all that. I have a little of that going on, but nice to get out there with the hedge clippers, work around the house today. Not as windy as it was yesterday. And thrilled to be here on the radio here, where it's just me today. As always, Raider fans, are you excited about Costa Mesa or not? Do you hear my monologue? Do you think there's any difference in stepping it up and making it a little bit more intense by getting out of Henderson, or do you think it's good to sleep in your own bed? That's really what the topic is. That's all the topic is. Do you think that players should be able to go home to their wives and kids and dogs, or have to be sequestered like a jury somewhere, where they can still have a lot of fun? There's going to be team bonding. And remember, every year up in Napa, our buddy Guy Fieri would come and cook for everybody, the famous chef, when he was getting famous. He's really, really famous now. And you'd have a Guy Fieri day. There'd be a Napa day. There'd be an alumni day. Everyone had a great time up at training camp in Napa. And Napa was, when I got to Napa in 90, the first time I went to Napa, I don't know, I started in 98. I don't know when my first Napa training camp was, but it was hot up in Napa. There were some days up in Napa where it was hot. Felt a lot hotter than it could be in Henderson, but Henderson's just a little bit different. The Raiders have an opportunity, according to Pro Football Focus today. There's a couple of defensive players that are left in their top free agents available that are left. At number one, it's Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos, the safety. I don't think that's a need for the Raiders. I don't think it's a big one because they got Trayvon Merrick and Epps, and they got a little bit of depth there. I love Isaiah Palomalo. I think he's a hybrid type player. But number two that jumps out at me is Stephon Gilmore, the former champion from the Patriots and played really good with the Cowboys. Cowboys are up against it financially, and Stephon Gilmore is still available. And I saw a couple of tweets as I did some research on him today. So as you look at some of the players that are still available, the Raiders are in a situation where they could use another cornerback, and he's past his prime. There's no doubt about it that he's past his prime. But would you take a shot on Stephon Gilmore past his prime to see what could happen? Odell Beckham Jr. to Miami is official. That's official there because it seems like they're the type of team that wants to get to the Super Bowl last year because of all the injuries last year as they're getting some of their players back healthy. But as you know, they lost a big one in Christian Wilkins. The other cornerback that everybody's talking about is Steven Nelson from the Houston Texans. He's the third-ranked player available. So out of the top three players. I just mentioned two corners, Stephon Gilmore and Steven Nelson. And then you got Xavier Howard of the Miami Dolphins. And taking a look at his free agent ranking and what he could mean for the Silver and Black. So as I went through all of this, and they had their, remember, not too long ago, the top free agents were Chris Jones. He re-signed with Kansas City. Number 2 was Kirk Cousins. He went to Atlanta. Number 3 was Josh Allen. This is all from Pro Football Focus. They're really good at that. He re-signed with Jacksonville. T. Higgins, right, with the franchise tag. He is not happy in Cincinnati. Brian Burns, the linebacker edge rusher, went to the Giants. That was a big pickup. They got a hell of a player there. Justin Matabuke ended up staying with Baltimore, and he's got a really good contract now. And then the 7th free agent in all of Pro Football Focus when the free agency started was Christian Wilkins, coming from Miami to the Las Vegas Raiders, 4 years, averaging 27.5. It says Wilkins hoped to get an extension done before the 2023 season, but didn't let the lack of one get in the way or slow him down. Wilkins is a good run defender, as any interior defensive lineman in the NFL, setting career highs in every pass rushing category this season, including pass rush win rate, pressure rate, sacks, quarterback hits, and pressure. So the Raiders went into free agency and they got the 7th player available. And there's a chance that they could get the 2nd best player available or the 3rd or the 5th who are remaining here on the list that's left. I think this is an intriguing topic on, do you want to see the Raiders go out and add a veteran cornerback after they just drafted 2 cornerbacks, one in the 4th round and one in the 7th round? I do. I want a right tackle still. Am I the only guy that still wants a right tackle? I want a veteran right tackle, but the Raiders bolstered their offensive line. I think the key going forward now for the Raiders is after the Raiders just bolstered their offensive line to the point where it's a good offensive line now. There's a good offensive line for the Raiders. Last year, people were wondering how they're going to make this work. They made it work. This is a team that was 1 game away from the playoffs, and the offensive line down the stretch played better. They weren't a hindrance to this team. The offensive line wasn't a weakness to the team, but it could get better. So the Raiders, coming off an 8-9 record, scored 332 points, which, let me get the ranking on that. I just saw that which was 23rd in the league, and giving up points allowed 331, which was 9th in the league also. So the Raiders defense has allowed a touchdown on just 3 of 35 drives since week 8. It ranks 1st in the NFL. That was on November 15th as of last year. With the additions of what they've done on defense, and they really went big on offense, getting Brock Bowers, do you think the Raiders should kick the tires on Xavier Howard or Stephon Gilmore right now? Because Tom Telesco, I think, is really good at this. And waiting till after June 1st, I think the Raiders are going to be in the hunt, maybe for one of those 2 players. 702-365-9200. And then I saw today, Bobby, on all the shows today, they're still talking about the Brady roast. Tom Brady roast on Netflix. This is a slow time of year, you would think, listening to this show today with the calls. You look at the Tom Brady roast, it reminds you a lot of The Last Dance when we went through COVID and there was no sports. Right. And we waited every Monday to talk about The Last Dance. Well, they're still talking about that. Julian Edelman was on 3 shows today talking about how this was the big win for Bill Belichick, how they were all able to look at Bill Belichick at the Brady roast, make fun of him while he's unemployed, take shots at him, and Belichick had to allow it, and Belichick come out of it afterwards. They took a team photo with all the Patriots, and they had their bonding moment, which they all needed. So thanks to Netflix brought the Patriots dynasty together so they could clear everything up and have a good conversation. I watched the Brady roast twice. I did a podcast with Looney last night on it, and it was absolutely fantastic. I watched it twice. It was better the second time because I knew some of the harsh, big jokes were coming. And when I watched them overall, again, they were better the second time. If you didn't get a chance to see that, go check it out and see what they were able to pull off. It was incredible. I think rarely do you see something where so many people win. Drew Bledsoe won, Tom Brady won, Bill Belichick won. The only guy who lost was Ben Affleck. I actually went through the last one. It was so uncomfortable. We're keeping an eye on the remaining free agents who are available. I teased it ahead. I put it out on Twitter. If you want to take a look at it at Twitter at JT the Brick, the teams now. Raiders, according to FanDuel, today, this went out today, their season win total is 6.5. 6.5 wins. That means they got to win 7. I'm going to dive into this tomorrow. Let me give you a couple of teams, just a few, to just wet the whistle of Raider Nation, like a dog whistle, to see if they bite on this one. Tell me if this makes sense. Raiders are at 6.5 win total. At 7.5, New Orleans and Minnesota. Minnesota, who lost Kirk Cousins, and New Orleans with Derek Carr. That was a disaster year one. At 9.5 wins, Bobby, Atlanta at 9.5 wins. That's concerning to me because we play Atlanta this year at home. And Las Vegas, the bent noses, the bookmakers think Atlanta is much better than the Raiders. I'm counting on beating Atlanta. I better be. How the hell are we going to win 9-10 games if we don't beat Atlanta? Also, the Jets. The win total on the Jets announced today. What do you think? 9.5. That means they believe Aaron Rodgers can win 10 games. I actually agree. The Jets play in the same conference as the Raiders. But here's the one that got me. The one that really got me big. 10.5. Cincinnati. Another team we're playing. I'd pound the under on that. I don't think Cincinnati is as good as people make them out to be. And Joe Burrow's got a bit of this wrist problem coming through there. So those are some of the teams there. The only teams, I'm going to save it for tomorrow. I want you to look at the tweet at JT the Brick. There's only 3 teams in the entire NFL they have rated lower than the Raiders. Only 3. What a bunch of crap. Wow. What am I missing? What did we do this offseason that FanDuel thinks that the Raiders are at the bottom of the barrel, and there's only 3 teams worse than the Raiders, and one is in the Raiders division? One is in, the Denver Broncos there. The other ones, we'll get into more of that tomorrow. 10.5 wins for Dallas. They didn't do anything in the offseason, really? Really? 10.5 wins? The only 2 teams that are up there that I really respect at 11.5. 11.5, that means they have to win 12, is the 49ers in Kansas City. But they just played in the Super Bowl, and that's recency bias. But San Francisco, I don't think, got a lot better, but Kansas City did pretty good. Kansas City didn't lose a lot of their players. 702-365-9200 as we continue on, taking a look at the AFC, some of the other teams, and what they're doing as we keep rolling here. Doghouse Saloon over at Resorts World. I'll be there over the weekend. Got some friends in town. When they get a room at Resorts World, there's 3 separate hotels you can get a room at. And you come down to the elevators, you head to Doghouse Saloon. They have an unbelievable sports bar where they play music. The sports book is there. Great food, the best grilled cheese you'll have in town, and right next to the theater with all the great concerts. JT continuing here on a beautiful day in Vegas.
Raider Nation, what's your name?
All right, everybody. How do I feel about Dak Prescott coming to Vegas on a good deal? Well, he's going to be available. I don't think Dak is worth what he was worth 2-3 years ago. If there was a discount on Dak, Dak is better than both Raider quarterbacks. That's not even a debate. Not even a debate.
Has spent over 3 decades fighting and pursuing justice for the injured. It's a long family heritage.
Jonathan says they're bashing the win totals. Look, the Raiders at 6.5. I'm surprised. I thought a good place to have the Raiders, because last year, if you bet the Raiders over the total, you won, right, at 6.5 last year. So last year you beat the casino. All I thought was that with Christian Wilkins and what they're doing, and the fact that they brought in Minshew, because last year Jimmy G was hurt, so he wasn't available. We had Brian Hoyer and Aiden O'Connell, and they went over the win total. And this year we get Gardner Minshew with an improved Aiden O'Connell, who's only going to get better. I thought they put the Raiders' season win total at 7.5. I thought they'd have enough respect to think that the Raiders could be better and win more than 8 games, or at least 8 games. Nope, they don't see that at all. They do not see that at all.
Download the BetMGM app, head to the ballpark, and get your piece of the MLB action. BetMGM is the official partner of Major League Baseball.
Miss Blaine stopped coming back.
Okay.
See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only, Nevada only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. MGMResorts.com/GameSense.
Zip Zap Auto has expanded into one of the largest independent auto repair shops in the Valley. With 23 bays, over 12,000 square feet, Zip Zap is your one-stop shop, offering 24-hour smog tests, oil changes.
We officially talked to someone at the Raiders, so we got the green light. We are going to do the top 10 Raider games of all time this summer. Bobby, when would you consider summer?
I would say the second week of June, as soon as the NBA playoffs are over.
Second week of June?
Yeah.
Okay.
NBA playoffs are over. Like we get a couple of weeks to run it. You go on vacation for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We wrap it up.
I should go on vacation for like a month around here, man. That's what I should do. By the way, I sent you the email. You'll have it. I just sent it to you on those top 10 games, something just to look at.
Find your Nissan at Finley Nissan Henderson inside the Valley Auto Mall.
This is JT for Grimaldi's New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza. 4 locations in the Valley, Summerlin and Boca Park, on the Strip.
Yeah.
Southwest Las Vegas on Rainbow, and in Green Valley on Eastern Avenue. Grimaldi's, the best pizza I've ever had.
Hey everyone, it's Joey from Sky Diamonds in Town Square. Did you know we pay top dollar for Rolexes and natural diamonds? We are also a full-service repair center for all your jewelry. Come to our beautiful showroom and sell your diamonds and Rolexes in a comfortable luxury store located in Town Square.
Hey, it's JT since 1995. The Black Hole Fan Club has been the foundation of the nation with over 40 chapters worldwide.
The Raider hate is all part of our underdog mentality. Well, that's good, but, 6.5 games is what the pros think. These are pros who are setting the line, everybody. See Boogie Brown. I think Tom Telesco sees AOC ceiling. It's Phillip Rivers and Kirk Cousins. What do I think? Well, I think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. I haven't seen that out of AOC yet. Kirk Cousins, yeah. Oh, yes. Looney at 105. Looney at 105.
Okay, cool.
This is what we do. Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
To snap the hand up the middle, Edwards and Lair. The initial push towards the pitter. And there he's drilled by Spillane.
A phenomenal job by the middle of that Raiders defense, led by Malik Reed, who went low, and then Spillane crushed him up top. 3rd and goal.
Spillane had a hell of a year. Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Raiders, on the call there. Appreciate that. We're playing some Rolling Stones the next couple of days, as the Stones are playing at Allegiant Stadium. So I've seen the Stones all over the world. I met my wife at the Hard Rock here in Vegas, walking into a Stones show. We met as strangers going to the concert. So that's why my wife and I celebrate Mick and Keith and the band. My sons wouldn't be here walking on the planet if it wasn't for the Rolling Stones. If they canceled 2 nights before, I never would have met my wife. So we celebrate the Rolling Stones here. And I've never seen a guy 80 years old do sprints like Mick Jagger. You want to think about joining a gym and working out? Go see Mick Jagger at 80 run. He doesn't walk or skip. He runs. He sprints throughout the show. And I wonder, last time I've seen the Stones, it was in Liverpool, home of Liverpool soccer. And we're going to see him here in Vegas. And what's cool, and I was texting back and forth with Johnny Katz, our entertainment reporter, what Mick does when he comes to a city is he shows up at a lot of the famous places, not in disguise. He just wears a baseball cap and shades. So he'll walk right up to the Las Vegas sign, get in line by himself and take a picture. He'll have a photographer there. And then he'll go to the Bellagio fountains and take a picture. And then he'll post it all and people will be like, oh my God, I was there today. I didn't see him. So it's kind of a cool thing because I'm assuming they're in town. They're getting into town. And Mick is going to go, Bobby, up and down the strip and take pictures at the Neon Museum or whatever it is. And he's going to be amongst the masses. And sometimes people see him and he chats with them. It's really cool.
Oh God, the last one he did last time you were around, he went to Fremont Street.
Yeah.
It was so cool on a Friday night. They got the lights in the back. He's just standing there in a baseball hat,
Man.
casual jacket.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know it was
Yeah, that's what he does. So we'll see if he's bouncing around town. The Raider win total, I'm going to dive into that a little bit more on Friday because I got some more information. I'm waiting to hear from one other sportsbook director on how that could move or change coming up here, but the number is pretty much set at 6.5. Tom Looney, my podcast partner, and I talked about LeBron James. He's going to join us live coming up here. LeBron James might coach the Lakers. He might coach the Lakers. That's the vibe in LA today. Hardcore Raider is up next on the flagship. Go ahead. I'm doing good. What's new with you?
Not much. Hey, I do like the idea of Xavier Howard, but I also, at the same time, I think Jacorian Bennett has a lot of upside potential. So, when I look at it from that standpoint, if we don't get a corner, I'm not going to necessarily be upset. What I'd really like to see with some of this extra cash is for the Raiders to go and give an extension to a guy like Nate Hobbs or maybe Trayvon Moehrig, and I'm not saying we can't do both, but I would really like after the June 1st or whatever deadline, I'd like for them to maybe go out and keep some of the talent that we have, because we've all been talking about it for years, how we need to draft and keep our talent. Well, now we have some. And
I want to see more out of Hobbs. Hobbs has been injured. He's been injured. He's played well at times. He's not elite. He's not a Pro Bowler. He's nowhere near close to a Pro Bowler. Everybody talks about Nate Hobbs. I like him. I like him as a hybrid. I think he should start at corner. If Nate Hobbs was as good as everybody said he was, we should be able to put him on the outside to play cornerback. And Eric Allen disagrees with me because he's a better slot corner. Well, he should be able to cover. Nate Hobbs has got to be the guy that you don't take off the field. He intercepts the ball more, makes turnovers, and plays in more games because he's healthy. So I don't want to get in front of Nate's money. I want Nate Hobbs to get paid. He's a good guy. But I want to see a little bit more out of Nate Hobbs, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a fair point. But, I mean, him and Trayvon Moehrig both were playing with, broken hands or whatever in the cast. So I definitely feel like, they have the love for this organization. They're passionate, and they're willing to play hurt, and not everybody is, So, you're right that there needs to be more production. But I'm just saying with some of the extra cash, if we could figure out a way to get reward, one or two guys this offseason, I think that would be show a lot. Because let's be real, man. In years past with the Raiders, we haven't always signed our talent. And so it makes other guys maybe a little hesitant to come to our team. And so I just think we give contracts to our own guys. It's a win-win. But you're right. We do need to see a little bit more from Nate Hobbs. But
okay,
man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Look, again, I don't get in front of players' money. That's another rule I have. Not for you. Not for you. I need you to call in on players or tweet in on players' valuations. If you think a player doesn't deserve it, I'm counting on you to tell me. But I don't get in front of players' monies. That criticism I gave Nate Hobbs right there is probably as hard as I'll go, which is pretty positive. I like Nate. I introduced him to Willie Brown's daughter to try to make that connection with the legendary Willie Brown and Nate Hobbs. I think Nate went to the same college as my wife, the University of Illinois, Fighting Illini. I want him to do well. But I think we need to see more out of Nate Hobbs, and he needs to stay healthy. And he's got to ramp it up this year. And I remember last year I was saying the same thing about Trayvon Moehrig. He needed to ramp it up going into last year, and he did. He did. Trayvon Moehrig stayed on the field. He was more productive, and he was a good player. And I thought that was a make-or-break year for Trayvon last year. If he didn't play well, he wouldn't have been here. And remember, everybody, Tom Telesco is now in charge of football operations. He's going to evaluate all these players. Okay, he's a former GM for a long time of the Chargers. He didn't sign any of these guys. So the guys that he brought in, Christian Wilkins, Gardner Minshew, just picked up, a former Pro Bowl offensive lineman for the Saints. The guys who are in here, those are Tom Telesco guys now. Everybody else is not. Now, Max Crosby is a Tom Telesco guy who I've talked to him about. But everybody else, Tom Telesco, he didn't sign these contract extensions. He didn't do these deals with some of the guys. He didn't draft and re-sign Colton Miller. But I'm sure he loves Colton Miller. He's one of the best players on the team. A.J. Cole, Daniel Carlson. So the players that are here and remain here are going to have to be Tom Telesco type guys. And if Tom Telesco wants to go out and sign a wide receiver or make a move and go get a player that he likes, it's because he's evaluated that player for years and he feels like he would be a better fit, an absolute better fit. with the silver and black. So really quickly, my son has done a great job helping me build this YouTube page. So last night, I did a podcast with Tom Looney. He'll join me next. Tom's great. He's going to talk about all things, especially the Raiders in Southern California. But last night I did a 9-minute rant on the Knicks, and we did a podcast last night, and it's all there for everybody to see. These things are great if you download them. If you download them and subscribe, we would appreciate that. So the podcast is at JT and Looney, and then the YouTube page is JT the Brick YT. A lot of news coming today. The PGA Championship in golf, a major. We're going to have the ability to talk about that next week. The NBA playoffs are right here in front of us. There's some make-or-break games coming up tonight. And the news of what's going to happen. The news and what's going to happen coming up here, which is really interesting on Santa Rosa when we get more and more closer to that. I just saw a story today. It said Mike Tyson learned to fight on the streets of Brownsville in New York. He's training for his boxing match against Jake Paul in a different environment. The world champ former Mike Tyson fights Jake Paul July 20th in Texas. His temporary gym is in Las Vegas and is connected to the silver and black. So how about this? Designed by Tyson's wife, Kiki, the space is modeled after Tyson's boxing club in Saudi Arabia. A scaled-down version, maybe no more than a slice, was built inside a warehouse owned by Mark Davis near the team's training headquarters in Henderson, according to Tyson's brother-in-law. Quote, Mark Davis is a friend of Mike's. He told that to USA Today via email. Mark was super helpful in allowing us to utilize the space temporarily. His team has been awesome, assisting us with the best vendors to build out Mike's vision. How about that? Did not know that. I know how much Mark loves boxing, and Tyson's an icon in this town. All right, we come back here on the other side. Tom Looney and a gentleman police officer from the union, as the police officers are going to take on the firefighters at Bishop Gorman. All right.
I'm assuming the cops calling us.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Where am I? Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. I'm going to bail here. I'm not going to do 2 hours here on YouTube. I'm going to do one. I have a brand new YouTube rant. It's called The Short. So if you can find that, if everybody can click subscribe and hit like, just hit that thumbs up button there on your screen. I'd greatly appreciate that. All bark and no bite. The night owl. Tom's got more bite than you. He's got a lot of bite. Mike and the Raiders, legendary. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here on our YouTube feed. Couldn't do it without you. Big show tomorrow.